We are going to go ahead and open up that Lightroom catalog that I gave you guys. It's called the PH152 Demo Catalog. Seems as good a name as any. So when you open it up, you will probably get this dialog box. This dialog box is telling you, hey, this is some old thing. It's somebody made some old version of Lightroom out there behind a woodshed somewhere. Go ahead and upgrade it, that's fine. Every time you open an old file with a newer version of Lightroom, and this may happen if you take your Lightroom to a different computer, whatever, it may ask you this. Once you upgrade it, it will not be workable in an earlier version of Lightroom. This is stupid, but it's also the way it is. Typically it will save a copy. So when I hit upgrade, it will save the previous version with like a -2 on it. I mean, there's a lot of things wrong going on here. But there you go. So open it up. So we are here with this catalog that I have created for you because I am so nice. And we're going to run through this to do a little bit of organizational stuff. So to do that, I'm going to be here in the library. I'm looking at my handout over there in case you wonder why I'm looking over at that side of the screen. Here in my library, I'm going to go down to collections on the left-hand side. And I'm just going to go down here to the ranking and collections thing. I may need to twiddle that open. Boop. I'll talk more about what collections are in a sec, but for the moment, just wanted to eliminate the editing pictures and just show us these. I'm also going to go ahead and make my thumbnails a little bit bigger so they are easier to see on the screen. So I'm going to go in this first clip through keywords and how we set those up, and a little bit about metadata, which we already heard some about when we talked about how we do our copyright information. So looking at my library panel here, over on the right, we have Quick Develop, which we looked at briefly last time. I'm just going to twiddle that closed. And I'm going to come over here to keywords and twiddle that open. Keywords are sort of like search terms, right? So you can assign any number of keywords to an image or images, and then you can use that to search for them quickly. So if you are a photojournalist, this will be super helpful, right? If you're like, oh, I'm looking for Ivanka Trump, right? Don't know why, but you are. So if you had keyworded her, any image that had her in it, you would type that in, bloop, it would return all the pictures with Ivanka Trump. You can also search for multiple ones. So if you were like Ivanka Trump and Loch Ness Monster, you could put in both of those terms and get everything with both Ivanka Trump and the Loch Ness Monster in it. Keywords depend on you putting stuff in. So if you don't put any information in, you don't add any keywords, it's not going to be useful. But they're right here, keywording, and you can put in as many as you want. So I could just give all of these, for example, the keywords demo, separated with a comma, couch, because that's what they're sitting on, and goofy. So right now I gave those 3 keywords to this file here that was selected. If I wanted to give them to all of the images, right? I could do that again, select all of these pictures, and I could go through again and give it couch and demo, and we'll leave off goofy. So now all of these images, as I go through them, each have couch and demo as keywords. And let's see, I'll give them a couple more. Select all. PH152, that's always a good one. And what else? I'll keep it with that. So they're kind of like, hashtags or something like that. So if you can think of them in those terms, you want them to be something that you will think of when you're looking for the image. So if I was like, oh, that couch is ugly, and I put in ugly as a keyword, that's not necessarily going to be something that is the first thing that springs to mind, unless I also have couch in there. So when you're searching for them, you want it to be something that seems kind of obvious. So therefore, when you add these keywords, have that in mind, right? Most of the time it's easy, right? You're like bride, groom, uncle, dance, cake, right? Like a bunch of things that you would use in most normal situations. If you are an architectural photographer, right, maybe your keywords would be about the building or the room or the space or the client, all those good things. The other stuff that we have down here, right, there's a keyword set. So you could make a set and it would have, right, so some preset things you can click on and enter them in. I don't really use those at all. Metadata, right, we twiddle that open. And this is where we can enter in your contact info and copyright info if you hadn't already done that. We can also go up here and select a preset, right? So remember I made a 2020 copyright. Apply metadata preset to all the selected photos, all selected, boop. And now, right, because apparently I didn't do this when I imported them, now all of those photos have that preset. So that's kind of nice, right? So if I don't have everything selected, so let's say I went in here and selected only one. I just hit Command-Shift-D for deselect all except the one that I had highlighted. Command-D is deselect, Command-A is select all. So let me select this one, and I'm going to go back to keywording. I'm going to give it a keyword still life. Now let's say that I want to have all the rest of them also have that keyword or have a bunch of keywords. With that one selected, I can say select all, and then I can come down here to sync metadata, hit that, and it will give you this list now of all the metadata. Right? Remember, that's everything attached to the file that is not actually picture information. So your copyright info, your shutter speed, your date, like your keywords, all that stuff. I can go in here and down at the bottom, we see that keywords are one of those things. I can check that and I can say synchronize, and it will now copy from this set across and apply it to all of the other images that I have selected. So I'll hit synchronize. And now if I go to any of the other images, Command-Shift-D to deselect all but one, it will also have still life in there. So that's pretty cool. So when we go and put all these keywords in, right? So what's the point of it? The point of it is that we can come up here to the top and I can say, click on, I don't know, text. So this is my library filter up there. If you don't see that, you can hit slash on the keyboard, and that will show or hide the library filter. So I can hit text and I can say, show me anything that has the text in it somewhere that is PH152. Right, shows me all the same pictures because all of the images that I have here have PH152 in them. If I had something in only a few of the images, so this one, for example, has a terrifying head, so I'm going to give it the keyword giant head, And I'm going to synchronize that across all the other ones that also have that in there. Let's shrink my thumbnails down so I can see them all. There's one, and there's one, and there's one. Synchronize metadata. Come down to keywords. Yes, giant head. Synchronize. Cool. So now, because I've been judicious in my use of keywording, I can come up here to text and clear that out and just put in head. And there are all the images that have the giant head keyword. Obviously, this is a silly example, but if you are looking for all the photos of the bride, all the photos of the groom, all the behind the scenes photos and videos, any of that stuff, keywording is going to be a great way to be able to find that instead of searching individually through, 5 or 10 or 15 or 100 or 1,000 pictures, especially, as you start to get into a bigger event, and you have lots of other stuff that you should really be doing. Other things that you can get up there in that top field, in addition to text, attributes, which we'll talk about in the next clip, metadata, like, for example, what camera they were shot with. So if you were doing an event and you had, a couple of shooters, right, you could separate them out that way. If you had somebody doing like social stuff with an iPhone, you could separate that out there, any of that kind of stuff. So all this metadata, keywording, attributes, text things, searchability is going to be incredibly helpful as you start to develop a bigger archive and shoot more complicated things where you really need to be able to search through not just by endlessly scrolling past things, but to somehow narrow it down a little bit more before you do that.